Hello everyone and welcome to another video on Python programming. In this video we will be learning about the concept of list comprehension. Now list comprehension it's a neat way of creating a new list based on values that are already there in an existing list. So you can think of it like creating a new list using a much shorter and cleaner syntax compared to what you might traditionally be thinking. So let's go through some examples, and through those examples we will see how list comprehension makes creating these new lists much simpler and much easier for us. So in our first example, we will be creating a new list which will contain fruits that contain the letter A in their name. So we already have a list of fruits over here, as you can see. It has apple, it has banana, cherry, kiwi, and mango. Now we want to create a new list which has only the fruits that have the letter A inside them. So apple would be one of them, banana would be one of them, and mango would be one of them. So traditionally, if you look at this piece of code, this would do what we want to do, but this contains a few extra lines. But yeah, it does do what we want to do. Now what if there was a way of doing the same thing by just writing one simple line of code? And that exists, as you can see here. So I take the same list. Now this is where you need to follow. So now my new list is equal to, so I'm creating a list over here, as you can see. Now within this list you have this line. This is what we call a list comprehension. So as you can see, it says each fruit for each fruit in fruits if, now it's checking for the letter or the character A inside each fruit. And what this each fruit is, that we're checking each object in this list one by one. So first, in the first iteration, each fruit will contain the string apple. Then in the next iteration, it will contain banana. And in each iteration, we're going to check if it contains the character A. And if it does, then we store that each fruit in the new list, as you can see here. So if I execute this line, you see my result is the same. I have my whatever I wanted. And this was a much cleaner way of writing or creating this new list. Let's look at some other examples now. So my next example, what I'm going to do is I am going to iterate through a string. So I have a string, it can be anything. In this case, I am using a string called human. Alright, so I have a string called human, right? Now I want to store each character of this string into a list that we call h_letters. So if I use the for loop, this is how we would do it. If I execute this, as you can see, the list contains h and then u, m, a, and then n. Now what if I wanted to do the same thing but by using list comprehension? So what I would do is, let's create a list over here, h_letters, and so as we know, list comprehension will you just basically need one line. In this case, it will just be like this. Now this is my string. Now let's see, when I check what's in h letters, let's see what is the output. So as you can see, I have the output as what I needed. So this is a much cleaner way. Let's go through some more examples now. Now we can do more list comprehensions. We can even use, so we've already seen one case where we checked for the character A. We've seen a case where we went through, where we did a sort of a loop through a string. We can also use list comprehensions in conditionals. So let's look at an example where we use the list comprehension with an if statement. So what if I wanted to store, say, the first 10 even numbers? So this would this is an example that I'll be using. So in my list, I want to store the first 10 even numbers. So this would be a way to do it. So I have in range 20. So what this is going to do is x is going to take the value of 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until 90. It'll actually take it from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 until 19. So when we do range 20, we're creating an iterable where we're going to loop through or iterate through the values 0 to 19. So if I do this, and this, what this statement does is basically it checks if it's divisible by 2. So if this is equal to 0, that means we have an even number. And if this condition is met, that means we store the x into our number list. So let's see what happens when we execute this. This should contain 0, 2, 4, 6 until 18. So this is the first 10 even numbers, as you can see. So this is a neat way of using if statement. We can also use an if else statement. So what if I'm checking each, okay, so I'm going to create another list, and in this list I'm going to basically see if each of my numbers are either even or odd. The first, let's say 10 natural numbers. So let's write this statement down. So I want it to be even in case the I that I'm checking, I being every number between, like say the first 10 natural numbers, as I said. Now let's check if it is divisible by 2. Well, if it is divisible by 2, of course it's going to be even, right? Else, we say that it is odd. And then we check for I in, say, the first, let's say the first 20. Okay. So now when we do this and we check what's in the list. So as you can see, the list contains like even, odd. It's basically saying the number 0 is even, then the number 1 is odd, then number 2 is even, and so on and so forth. So this is an example where we used the list comprehension with if-else statements. So another neat thing that we can do with list comprehensions is that we can use it along with functions. So let's look at this function. In this example, we have a function called double x, where we define this double x, this double function to take an input, to take an argument x, and what we return is the square of the argument. So let's use this in our list comprehension. So what we do over here is that we're checking. What we're doing is for every x bit in range 10. So we're taking the value 0, 1, 2, 3 until 9, and we're passing it to this function double x, and we're going to get the square of them, and we're going to store that in a list, as you can see here. Let's call this list x. Let's just call this list, let's call it y. So now let's see what's in y, and we check. It should be 0, 1, 4, 9, and so on. So wait, let's check again. Does this square? No, this is actually 2 times. So let's make it square, as you can see. So you can see 0, 1, 4, 9 for the first 10 numbers, 10 natural numbers. Now what I've shown you is obviously list comprehension, but we can also do set and dictionary comprehensions. In fact, set comprehensions work exactly the same way as list comprehensions. The only difference is the set comprehensions will make sure that there are no duplicates inside the set. So you can't have like duplicate items, which you can in the case of list comprehensions. So let's like just take a look at an example. So here in this example, what we're doing is we're going to check. So we have this string that we're storing in the variable text, and the string is something like life finds a way. So whatever this is. Now what we're going to do is we're going to iterate through this string character by character, and we're going to check if we're going to check for vowels essentially. So we're going to see if the character A, E, I, O, or U is present in the string, and if it is, we will pass it into our set. Now if you look, you will find there are multiple I's, right? And there are multiple A's as well. So if we did this through a list comprehension, each time that we find a vowel, it would be added to our list. But since this is a set, and sets do not allow duplicates, so you will only have one copy or one particular object for each of the vowels. So of course, now set comprehension is defined using curly braces, so let's keep that in mind. So now if I check what's in this, I will see A, E, I, and U. Even though there are multiple A's or multiple E's or I's and U's, since this is a set, we don't have duplicate copies of any of these. So this was just a small example for showing you set comprehensions. Similarly, we can do the same thing, this comprehension for dictionaries, and we call it dictionary comprehensions. The only thing that we have to worry about when it comes to dictionary comprehensions is that we have to define a key when it comes to this. So let's look at an example. In this, what we're doing is, again, dictionary comprehensions are also defined using curly braces, just like sets, except in this case, we will define a key, and that separates it from a set comprehension. So in this case, what we're doing is that I'm checking, I'm going through a list of numbers from 0 to 9, right? This is what the range 10 function does. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a key which is going to be like 0, 1, 2, 3, and the value of each key would be its square, as you can see here. I'm doing I times I, or just to make it a little more clearer, as you can see, I'm doing I square over here for every value from 0 to 9. So what I should get is like a dictionary where the first key is 0 and the value of that key should be 0 as well, because 0 square is 0. Then for 1 it will be 1, and then for 2, 4, and then 3, 9, 4, 16. So let's see what happens. As you can see here, this is the result that I wanted. So just to summarize, let's go through some key points to remember when it comes to list comprehensions. So it's obviously an elegant way to define and create lists based on existing lists. It's more compact and faster than normal functions and loops. But we should also keep in mind that we shouldn't write like very complicated list comprehensions, because the idea of a list comprehension is to be user-friendly. And also it's important to note that every list comprehension can be written in the form of a loop, but every loop cannot be written in the form of a list comprehension. And that is probably a very key point to remember. So yeah, that's it for this video on list comprehension, set comprehension, dictionary comprehensions. I hope you learned a neat new technique or trick when it comes to creating your new lists. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I hope you subscribe to our channel, like, share, and spread the news about this channel with people that you know, so that we can reach new learners such as yourself. So once again, thanks for watching.